Okay, let's continue. We have a French player, fairly high rated. Don't know who this is. But yeah, it's a 3-minute game, so slightly less yapping this time. So he insists on allowing the Grunfeld. Well, if you insist, then I shall oblige. So this is, ooh, that is a mouse slip, and quite an unfortunate one. C5 obviously was the intention. Yeah, so here we have it, just a Grunfeld tempo down. Not ideal. Not ideal at all. What should I do? Okay, I'll try bishop g4. Knight c6 there. d5 was probably strong. Knight a5. Bishop moves, I can take on c3, but with that awful knight on a5, the French knight, as they like to call it now, I didn't like my prospects there. Now I'm thinking rook b7, cd4, knight c6. Hope for the best. Yeah, bishop d5 is probably a very strong move, which was not really spotted by the author of the black side in this particular game. Yeah, rook b7 seems obvious. Rook c8, or maybe queen c8. So pretty grim. I'll go queen c8. Make this a double unintentional pawn sack, because you can take on c6 and take on e7. But I'm hoping then I will have, some compensation. Ooh, this is no good. This is no good. That was a bit of a gift, I have to say. Queen takes e4. Yeah, rook e1 would have been the obvious response, but unfortunately for him, the rook on b1 was hanging. And this means that from being quite clearly worse, I'm now clearly better, because I have the bishop pair and the better pawn structure. So the only worry that I have now is that the position will become too drawish. And hopefully I'll manage to pull through. Yeah, exchanging queens there was not ideal, but looks like I'm still winning a pawn. Rook b1 is logical. Probably d5 was better though, because I think I would probably have taken on d5. He takes on a7. I go rook a2, and I eventually win a2. But probably the 4 against 3, even with bishops on the board, would not have been enough. This is very interesting, actually. Usually you have this sort of ending, 3 against 3 with an a pawn, but the f pawns are very rarely doubled. But I do think sometimes the double f pawns can be good for defensive purposes, like in a 4 against 3 situation. I think it's not bad, because it's very difficult to create a passed pawn against the double pawns. But in this situation, it's probably no good for him, because as I said, the double pawns mainly have defensive value, and in this particular case, he usually needs to create some counterplay on the king side. In this, yeah, as it's happened, He tried to create counterplay on the king side, but I managed to win both his f pawns, and with 2 pawns up, it's plain sailing, and he resigns before I win the last one. Okay, that was you know what? Maybe I could have trapped his rook if he'd taken the pawn on e7. I could have gone bishop f6. That was knight e5 though. Maybe take on f3 and then bishop f6. Although then d5, queen a6, rook b7, probably was doing great there. It was interesting though. He should have taken the pawn because after what happened, he just had a considerably worse position. Okay.